Ever find yourself thinking, man, I wish experience counted for more?
Like you learn all this stuff in the real world, but then...
But then it's all about that piece of paper, that resume.
Exactly.
Well, get this, there's a whole field out there dedicated to changing that.
Oh, tell me more.
Today's deep dive is all about prior learning assessment, PLA for short. We're diving into some fascinating insights from RoleCatcher.
RoleCatcher, they're all about, like, career development, right?
The real deal. And they're shedding light on how PLA is totally changing the career game.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So what's the deal with this PLA thing?
So imagine this. You've got someone, say a chef, who's been running their own restaurant for years.
Amazing food, right?
The best. But they never went to culinary school, so no fancy degree.
Ah, I see where you're going with this.
How did they prove their skills to land that, like, top-tier chef job?
That's where our new favorite person comes in. The Assessor of Prior Learning.
Ooh, mysterious.
Right. They're like skill detectives, piecing together someone's experience to see if it measures up against, the official qualifications.
So it's not just about checking boxes on a resume.
No way. This is about really understanding what someone brings to the table, even if they learned it outside a classroom.
So, like, our awesome chef, they might not have the diploma, but their years of experience speak volumes.
Precisely. And this is where it gets even more interesting. These assessors, they're not always who you'd expect.
Oh, spill the tea.
Well, of course, you've got your career counselors and professors, but you could also be someone who's lived and breathed that field.
Wait, like a former chef assessing culinary skills?
Exactly. Or a retired engineer evaluating a self-taught programmer's portfolio.
Wow. So you need someone who really gets it, who speaks the language of experience.
Right. It's like you wouldn't want someone who's only read cookbooks judging a dish that's been perfected over years in a real kitchen.
1,000,000%. Okay, so how does someone even become one of these assessors? Is it all about their background?
Background is huge, for sure. But it also boils down to their approach. A good assessor, they've got this unique blend of, like, analytical skills.
You've got to be able to connect the dots.
Totally. Plus, deep knowledge in their field.
Yeah.
And this knack for understanding people. Because let's face it, experience, it comes with stories.
Oh, for sure. And those stories probably say way more than a resume ever could.
You got it.
So paint me a picture. These assessors, they're not just stuck in an office, right?
Some paperwork, maybe, but
Yeah.
definitely not glued to a desk. They could be in classrooms, workshops.
Ooh, I bet some of this is even happening online now.
Absolutely. Interviewing candidates virtually, evaluating their online portfolios. It's about meeting people where they're at, whether that's a bustling kitchen or, like you said, a virtual design studio.
Okay, I love that there's a real human element to this whole thing. But I'm curious, what kind of impact does going through this process have on people? I bet it's pretty empowering to have your experience validated like that.
You are so right. For someone who maybe took a different path, maybe learned on the job or had to switch careers, having those skills recognized, life-changing.
It's like they're finally getting the credit they deserve.
Exactly. And it's not just the individual either. Think about industries struggling to find skilled workers.
Oh, right, like those skills gaps everyone's talking about.
That's exactly. Prior learning assessment, it can connect those industries with experienced people who might not have the right degree, but have the practical skills to jump right in.
It's like a win-win for everyone involved. So we've talked about the impact this can have, like on people's lives, even whole industries, but what about the assessors themselves?
Right, right.
It's going to be pretty rewarding, but I imagine there are challenges too. What's it actually like to be an assessor?
It's definitely not always easy street. Can you imagine having to tell someone, hey, your experience, your passion, it doesn't quite line up? Oof. Those conversations, they can be tough.
You need serious empathy skills to deliver that kind of news and still, like, encourage someone.
It's a real balancing act, being a gatekeeper of standards, but also a cheerleader for someone's dreams.
Totally. And speaking of different levels, RoleCatcher mentioned there's a whole career path within this, right? It's not just one type of assessor, is it?
You're catching on. It's like, picture this. You've got your entry-level assessor,
Okay.
fresh out of training, raring to go.
Eager beavers.
They're all about the nuts and bolts, making sure they're following procedures, dotting those I's, crossing the T's.
Making sure everything's by the book.
Precisely. Then you've got junior assessors. They've got a little more experience under their belts.
Been there, done that a few times.
Exactly. They're starting to see the nuances, the gray areas where experience might not fit neatly into a box.
Because real life is messy.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
So These junior assessors, they're digging a bit deeper, asking those insightful questions, really trying to get to the heart of someone's abilities.
They're going beyond the resume bullet points.
100%. And as they gain even more experience, they might start mentoring those entry-level folks, sharing what they've learned.
Ah, passing the torch, showing them the ropes.
And that's how you get senior assessors. They're not just evaluating individuals anymore. They're looking at the bigger picture.
So what, like designing new assessment methods, that kind of thing?
You got it. They're refining the whole process, making sure it's fair, accurate, and keeping up with the times.
Because the job market's always changing, right?
Always. And then, at the very top, you've got your lead assessors. They're like the conductors of an orchestra, making sure everything runs smoothly.
So they're leading the charge, making sure everyone's on the same page.
And advocating for prior learning assessment in general. It's a big job.
Sounds like it. But incredibly rewarding, especially if you're passionate about people getting the recognition they deserve.
Absolutely.
Now, before we jump into how technology is shaking things up, I gotta ask, is there room for specialization in this field?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, that's where things get really fascinating. Think about it. Each field has its own unique language, its own set of skills.
Right, you wouldn't want someone who's a whiz at finance evaluating a software developer.
Exactly. So naturally, assessors often end up specializing in areas that really resonate with them, maybe their past careers, or just something they're passionate about.
So you might have a former nurse assessing healthcare professionals.
Right. Or a retired engineer evaluating budding tech geniuses.
I love that. It's like everyone's bringing their own unique perspective to the table.
It not only makes the assessment itself stronger, but it probably helps build trust with the candidates, too. It's like, hey, this person gets me. They've been there.
Totally. There's that shared understanding, that connection that comes from speaking the same language.
Exactly. Because recognizing the value of someone's experience sometimes takes having walked a similar path.
Okay, so we've got these awesome assessors, right? Each one with their own little bag of tricks.
Bag of tricks. I like that.
But RoleCatcher also mentioned how technology is like changing the game.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Tell me everything. What's new in the world of PLA?
Well, for starters, it's like having a whole new set of tools.
Right.
Right, like those online portfolios we talked about.
Right.
Virtual workshops. That's just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, get out.
Imagine like someone in a tiny village halfway across the world.
Okay.
And they can have their coding skills evaluated by some tech company in Silicon Valley.
Whoa.
All thanks to the internet.
That just blew my mind.
Right. Talk about breaking down barriers.
No kidding. It's like anyone can play now.
Exactly. And it's not just about access. It's about efficiency, too.
Okay, how so?
Well, AI and data analytics are becoming a big deal.
I was wondering when AI was going to pop up.
It's everywhere, right? So it can help assessors go through tons of data.
Like what kind of data?
Oh, online courses, work samples, even someone's social media.
Wow.
It can spot those hidden skills that might not be super obvious.
Okay, that's super cool, but also kind of scary, right?
How so?
Can an algorithm really get a feel for, like, human experience?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Right.
And it's something that RoleCatcher brought up, too.
Okay, good, because I was thinking it.
These technologies, super powerful tools, but at the end of the day, they're just that, tools.
Okay, I'm listening.
They're amazing at analyzing data spotting patterns, even making predictions.
Right.
But can they replace good old-fashioned human judgment, intuition, empathy?
I don't think so.
Me neither.
So it's kind of like having an amazing assistant, but you're still the boss?
Exactly. The human is still calling the shots.
Okay, that makes me feel better.
Good. Because that human touch, it's irreplaceable.
Totally. So it's all about balance then?
Yes. Finding that sweet spot where technology and human expertise work together.
I like it. So what's the future hold for all of this?
Well, we're kind of in the middle of a huge shift right now. It's a really exciting time for PLA. We're exploring all these new possibilities, but at the same time, we can't lose sight of what really matters.
Which is?
Recognizing the value of experience, empowering people, and making sure everyone has a fair shot.
Love it. It's like we're changing the way we see skills and experience altogether.
We are. And who knows, maybe someone listening right now will be inspired to dive into the world of PLA.
Right. You could be that chef getting the recognition you deserve.
Or the tech genius changing the world.
Or even the person helping to make all of that happen.
Exactly.
And that's a wrap on prior learning assessment.
Until next time.
Don't forget to explore, keep learning, and keep diving deep.